sent out and get some bots joining in. Well, a bot, I guess. And finally get our Discord stuff posted. So I think we're good. Hello everyone, this is Chris Ingerson, and it is August 16th, and this is the August 16th TextQuest Devstream. So, today we are going to be working on a couple of things, but to start, we are going to be working on revamping the light-dark interaction system. Oh, and you know what would probably be good? Me walking on screen. Also, coding. Anyway, so currently, within our current system, there is a concept of a light-dark zone, which is a zone that when you enter it, it is dark. And depending on which side of the zone you exit, you will either be completely in the dark or you will be in the light again. If you're in the dark without a light, after you exit the zone, then you will be eaten by a grue. And if you're in the light afterwards, or if you have a light when you enter the dark side, the game does not care. It just lets you go along as you were. So, I have been thinking through how I would like to actually redo this system a little bit, because right now it's kind of a hodgepodge situation. In particular, the main issue that we need to address is that there is a light-dark zone right here by the waterfall, which makes sense, right? Because you're going from a lit area outside of the waterfall to the dark area of the cave. But within that light-dark zone is a torch, which means that if you're in the torch, or if you're in the torch's light radius, then you're not in the dark. But if you were to leave the light-dark zone while you are still within the torch's light, it would, depending on how you did that, it would think that you were in the dark, and therefore it would try to kill you. So what I'm going to do is something very similar to a semaphore, which is going to be fun because I haven't implemented one of those in a long time, so I'm probably going to have to look up how to do it again. But the basic concept there is that we'll have, instead of each zone, I should probably actually select these so you can see what I'm talking about here. So instead of each zone basically controlling whether or not you live or die, what they'll do is they will simply have a value that they set in a centralized location that lets the game know if you're either in the dark or in the light. However, it's important to note that we can't just pay attention to if you're in the dark or in the light, because for things like light-dark zones, I don't want to instantly kill the player as soon as they enter the dark. In fact, I don't even want there to be a timer, because that would be unfair. So we basically have to decide between three different states: in the light, in between light and darkness, and completely in the dark. So think of this area that you're looking at here, this trigger area. That would be in between light and dark. That's the area where you're getting notified, hey, you're in the dark, you might die. I'm just going to move my timeline over here because no reason to have that off screen since you guys can't see that. But because of that, it makes things a little bit more tricky. Because it means that we can't simply just flood our semaphore value. Instead, we actually would want to be more like a series of states, either a bit mask or potentially an enum of some kind. And we'll have to decide what we want to do then. So let's say, hypothetically, that I'm going to run in from outside where it's light. I'm going to enter this light-dark zone, which is in between light and darkness, and then I'm going to keep running into the dark. Once I get to the other side of the trigger, the opposite side from the waterfall, it's going to say, hey, you're in the dark. Oh, you don't have a light. You're going to die. Now, it does that instantly. And that's probably how we want to do it, just because we don't want to... I had briefly considered having a coroutine run in the background where basically, like, after you leave the dark, if you're in the dark, after you leave the trigger, then you would have, like, probably not 5 seconds, probably like 1 to 2 seconds of freedom of movement before you just get eaten. But that's not exactly ideal because it means that it means I'll have a harder time putting these zones around exits, which is not necessarily typically where you'll see these things, but it is somewhere where it is very noticeable. Excuse me. So we can't really do it that way, which means that we need to be able to allow each type of trigger to determine what happens when the player leaves it. It's just going to be very interesting because we have similar problems with how, or what would happen if you went from this light area over here, which is actually a little hard to see. I'm going to turn on its box collider so that's easier. You can see like these are the two kind of overlapping trigger zones that we have. Hello, Cache Override. Welcome back. Beep boop right back at you. How you doing tonight? So we have an interesting situation here where if you left a light zone and you were in the dark, then it's supposed to start a timer, which will then count down. And after it reaches 0, then it'll either make a judgment, hey, are you in the light? If so, it's fine. If not, it's going to kill you. But then what happens when we enter a light-dark zone while we're in a lit zone? Because the light-dark zone would then flip you to being in the dark, and it's just like, you see where I'm going with this? It kind of goes back and forth, and they stomp on each other. So, instead, we have to basically come up with a way around this. And that's going to be kind of interesting. Just because the way that we have to have these systems interact with each other is not the most straightforward, because you could be in weird states depending on where you exit specific triggers. Doing good. I am so-so. It's been a surprisingly busy week, so I've been getting that wonderful feeling that you get as a developer, not when you're treading water, but when you're kind of like being overwhelmed a little bit schedule-wise, so you feel like you're kind of getting like pulled below the surface a bit. So I'm doing okay. Textcapade's going pretty well. Currently, we're working on revamping how the light-dark interactions work, which is why I've been going on that tangent about triggers and all that. Also, this is going to bug me, but your name is white on a almost white background, and that makes it incredibly hard to read. I can read it, but it's hurts my eyes. Anyway, so that's currently the state of things, and we're going to pick up from there to basically start revamping this system. There we go. One of the things that I would like to do is I would like to centralize the logic in Light-Dark Manager. Currently, the concept of darkness, like how the player interacts with being in the light or in the dark, is spread across a couple of different areas. The actual value that determines if the player is in the dark or in the light is called in dark, and it is on the hero or the player script, which is a semi-sensible place for that, because it would make sense that the hero character would need to know if it was in the light or the dark. However, it kind of makes more sense for us to centralize this in a separate script, because aside from just being related to the player, it doesn't actually do anything to the player directly. All of that is handled by, well, outside logic. So instead, we're going to want to centralize the logic for light and dark in Light-Dark Manager. This is already the script. Well, currently this is the script that's handling our post-process effects. So when you go into the light, oh god, that's so much worse. I didn't even know that you could change your color coding. I guess I'm assuming that you closed the window and then reopened it. But yeah, that's so much worse. Oh my god, why are all of the colors so bright? Or can you just specify what color you want? Oh god, it's so painful. Actually, I feel like that one's yellow is way harder to read than white is there. Anyway, so to give you a sense of what things currently look like, I'm going to go ahead and turn this back off. I'm going to walk over to the cave area, and you'll see the light-dark effect kick in. We'll see our post-processing get shifted around a little bit, and then we will have we will be able to kind of just talk through that. Oh, I should have played before I did this. Okay, there we go. Let's also maximize on play. Alright, so I'm going to take this. Okay. Oh god. I can't believe that they let people specify bright colors like that. That's just terrible UX. Hold. And actually, I'm not going to light. I'm just going to hold the lamp for now. Okay, so if I go into the dark, okay, you'll see that we have a little bit of a vignette effect that happens. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see it at the top right there. See it at the bottom right, bottom left, top right. And then if we go back out, it goes away. And then, of course, if we were to light our lamp, you'll see that we now have a slightly different post-processing effect that puts a stronger vignette outline around it, but also centers around the lamp itself. Although, funny enough, now that I'm in the light, it did not actually stop saying I'm likely to be eaten by a crew, which it totally should be. So you can see that this is our kind of post effect that lets us know that we're in the dark. And one of the benefits of centralizing this logic is that it will avoid situations like this, where I have a light, but it's still showing me that it is dark. You're likely to be eaten by a grue, which is just confusing. So that's currently where the state of things are. And we're going to go ahead and stop playing. Yeah, the lantern is not my best work, admittedly. I tried really hard to make it so that I wouldn't have doubled up letters, so I wouldn't have like frame, or I guess it'd just be frame. But then that led to it being weird and being like frame, emorph. And I'm just like, whatever. Anyway, so I now have a new base class that's going to form the backbone for pretty much every trigger that has to deal with interacting with light and dark, basically. The base class is not really going to do anything too spectacular. It's just going to have a reference to our player tag, which I probably need to make that protected, as well as our cached collider. But everything past that is going to largely need to be handled by our individual zones. So I will probably actually go ahead and do this. Protected virtual void on trigger. Enter. Say if col dot compare tag to player tag, then we're going to call something. We're going to go ahead and copy this. I will probably exit. I will probably actually just make these regular functions, and then I'll make virtual or abstract functions for what happens when the player enters or exits it. So we'll say protected abstract void enter zone. Oh, right, that's not how that works. Protected abstract void exit zone. All right, and these will just call enter zone and then exit zone. I do not think I will need to pass the collider itself because we'll know that it's the hero and I can just reference that. Okay, so that's our base class for that now. So I'm going to go ahead and let's change our light dark trigger zone to derive from that. Do I need to? No, it should be fine. Okay, so I'm going to have this derived from light dark zone base. Okay. We're not going to need cached collider because that's handled by our base. We're not going to need player tag. We're good here. And all we're going to do now is say override enter zone. Get rid of this. Let's go ahead and grab that. Do I want to do that? Yeah, all right. No, actually I don't. I do not care about the hero anymore. Kind of. Okay. So we probably want to have a couple of things then. So let's go ahead and we're going to change our light dark manager to be a singleton. So we're going to want to do, let's see, private static light dark manager instance, and then light dark manager apparently. Light dark manager instance get, and here's where things are gonna get fun. We're gonna return instance, not instance. There we go. And we'll say if instance is equal to null. Wow, that just did not go the way I was expecting it to. There we go. We're going to say instance is equal to find object. Actually, hold on. I think there's like find root. I bet I have to get the scene, don't I? So I don't want to search through the entirety of instance, or the entirety of the scene, because that would be a bit much, I feel. So probably what I should do is say, let's see. There's a call for this, and I kind of want to make it a wrapper now, but I believe it goes like this: Unity engine dot scene management dot scene manager dot get active scene dot. I think it's like root. Yep, get root game objects. Ooh boy. And what do you take? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's. So I probably want to make this whole line an extension call. So let's go to. Oh wait, what am I doing there? We're gonna go to scene manage. Well, how about scene extensions? Is that a thing? It is not a thing. What about scene loader? I suppose we can do that. So I'm going to just add a function to our scene loader, which is a singleton that we typically use to kind of get around Unity's scene loading. You'll notice that this is the Unity engine scene manager. It's basically like a wrapper for it, and all we'll want to do is probably just say, instead of load scene and all this, let's make this public. We're going to say public static void get scene root objects. It's not going to be void, I guess. I'm going to call return that. Say that. And this is going to be, I believe, an array of game objects. Yep. Game object. Okay, so now I no longer have to do this whole convoluted scene manager dot get active scene blah blah blah. Now I can just call get scene root objects on scene loader. However, that's not all I want to do. I'm going to do a couple of things. We're going to say public static void get scene root objects, and then this is going to be one that takes a list, I believe. Oh, which is apparently not something I'm using here. Using system system dot collections dot generic yarg. So we're going to say list of game objects. We'll say lists, I guess. And then the second one is root game objects, right? Okay. Okay, pretty nice. The only other thing that I want is I would like to be able to get a specific object. So instead of me getting the entirety of the scene root objects, although I will have to do that, it would be nice if I could just do a generic thing that's like get scene root object, and then it'll take a type. So basically this, public static void get scene root object of t, where t derives from, I suppose, component. That's probably what we want. Okay. And all we're going to do there is we're going to say objects. We're going to make this a game object array. Root bj's is equal to that. And this is actually going to return t. We will return null at the very bottom. Otherwise, we're going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than root objs dot length I plus plus. And we're just going to say if root objs of I dot get component of t. That kind of sucks now, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Gross. Then we'll just say return root objs of I dot get component of t. Okay. Not ideal, but it will work. So that means that now I can do this. Sorry, this. We're going to just say scene manager, which is apparently not a thing. I guess I can do this. TQ scene loader dot get root game object, and it's going to be of type this. Oh, you don't, you say? Interesting. Did I spell it wrong? Wait. Get scene root object versus. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's change that name because they should probably match up. No, I guess that's a little more clear because get root game object doesn't really make sense. Okay, so we're going to do that, and then that should get us our instance, and then from there we'll be fine. All right, so that is us getting the instance of our light dark manager. Now we need to actually start doing stuff with it. So let's see here. On enter zone, we'll probably remove this over to here for now. Let's get rid of this. I'm not going to do anything with you. And here is where things get interesting. Because okay. So we're going to real quick, let's also, before I forget, go ahead and override exit zone. Override exit zone, just so I can get rid of the red squiggles here. Let's go ahead and copy this. We're going to put you over here. Let's get rid of you guys, and that should be good. Call.transform. Position. We can kind of cheat and do this. Okay. Excuse me. Alright, so let's make this a semaphore. And this is going to be interesting. Okay. I think, actually, before I do anything else, I am going to have to make an enum. So we'll let that compile. Let's go ahead and add a C# script that I'm going to call light dark status. Not really a great name, but it gets the point across. So this is going to have 3 values. It's going to be either in light, in dark, or transitioning, I guess. Get rid of all the superfluous stuff that I don't need. In light is equal to 0. In dark is equal to 1. And in transitioning is equal to 2. Okay. So pretty straightforward. I'm going to go ahead and comment these real quick so I don't forget. Used to determine player status. That's a weird phrase. So I guess if the player is the dark, okay. Player is in a lit area. The player is in dark area. Player is in between darkness and light. Okay. So we're going to go back to Light Dark Manager, and there are a couple of ways that we can handle this. One is we can use a quick dictionary. Basically do this. Private. Why am I using private? I should be using system.collections.generic. Then we will simply say this is a little awkward. I guess we would probably put this here. Private dictionary, and we're going to say int followed by an int, and that's going to be our semaphore is equal to new. I guess I could probably just call this status. Okay. And what we're going to do here is we would simply say, oh, you know what? Also, I guess I should say, I don't know, we'll just treat in light. So if you're not in the dark and you're not transitioning, we're just going to treat you as if you're in the light because that makes sense. Because I was thinking maybe having like a fourth state that's just neutral. That doesn't make sense. Either you're in the light, you're transitioning, or you're not. So we're going to say up here, we're going to say public light dark status current status get very end. We're going to return in light. Oops, sorry, light dark status dot not in dark in light. Okay. Otherwise, we will say if so. If you're in the light at all, then we are going to treat you as if you're in the light. If you're not in the light, well, you know what? Maybe this is an all or nothing state. No, I can't do that. I need to keep track of how many of each thing you are. Just because if you are, let's say you're in a lit zone, like you're in a cave, which is in the dark, but then you start a fire. Then you're going to be in the light for as long as you're in that lit zone. But then you're also technically in the dark still. So if you were to leave that lit zone without a light, you would again be in the dark. But if I just made it a state thing, I would not actually be able to know what that was. Or I would rely on the zone itself being able to tell me, hey, outside of me is darkness. But that might not always be the case. So I think having a semaphore will just be a better way of handling this. So we're just going to say if, let's say, status of int for my dark status dot in light is less than or equal to 0. So if that's the case, then we'll need to check if we are, do we want to check if we're in the dark, or do we want to check if we're in first? I can't really imagine situations in which those overlap. Typically the transition periods are kind of, they're very specific, right? Because the transitions happen only when you're going from a generally lit area like outside in the sun to a generally dark area like in a cave. But you're not going to have transitions while you're in the dark. You only have transitions that take you from the light to the dark or from the dark to the light. Never weirdly like sort of from the dark to a light area that's a temporary thing and then back into the dark. Yeah, we don't have to worry about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if our semaphore value for in light is less than or equal to 0, it means that we're not in the light, which means that we must be in the dark. And I'm trying to think if I can simplify this, honestly, but I don't think that I can. So after that, we're going to say if, let's just pretty much copy this. So if this again, but it's not actually going to be that, it's going to be dot transitioning is less than or equal to 0, then we will return in dark. Or no. I think what we're going to do is we're going to say if it's in dark, if that's greater than 0, then we'll give that preference. Else, we are going to return transitioning. Okay, so that would mean... Oh, you know what? Actually, that does make sense. No, I can't get away with that. I was going to say maybe I don't need the transitioning thing because I can just assume if my light status is less than or equal to 0 and my in dark is greater, well, no, is not greater than 0, that would mean that we're in a transition period, but that is not exactly ideal. So we'll just do it like this. I think this will... No. I don't want to... I don't want to... That's dangerous. I really don't want to have a situation in which, for some reason, the light gets set to -1, and then I don't have a transition, which would automatically mean it's in the dark, and that's not exactly correct most of the time. Yeah, that's not great. All right. We'll do it that way. So what we're going to do now is we are going to add a public static value. Sorry, function call. Public static void. Add state. Add to semaphore. How about increment status? And we're going to take a light dark status, except I can't call it that. So let's say type followed by, I guess that's all we really care about, isn't it? We're just simply going to say status, oh right, I need to do instance. Instance dot status of type ++. Oh, right. I need to cast that to an int as well. Okay, let's go ahead and copy this. It's going to be minus, and this is going to be decrement status. Okay. From there, we will want to probably perform safety checks after each one of these. So we're going to have a function call that's probably static. Do I want to make status a static thing? Because it would probably be pretty nice to be able to access current status from anywhere. So I think I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to make this static. I'm going to make this instance.static or status. Let's copy this, paste that in. Okay, looking good so far. And then we're going to have a public static, not static, static void check status. And I guess that means I'm probably going to want to have a previous status so that I can know when I transition. So that means that we're going to do this. Private, static, light, dark, status. Previous status is equal to, it's going to be in the light, not in the dark, in the light by default. Oh, and this is also going to definitely need to have a public static void reset. Public static void reset, which will mean that we would want to basically just say previous status is equal to in light. Stop that. Light. And then we will also want to say I guess I'll just do it that way. That's fine. Status of int. No, that was not at all what I wanted. Instance dot status of int. You know what? I guess this is actually not a huge issue now that I think about it, because the light dark manager is not a persistent thing. It exists in the scene, but it's not something that moves between scenes because of how the what's it called? The post-processing effect stacks have to happen. So it's probably fine for me to not really even have this reset function. So let's just go ahead and not worry about that for now. Okay, check status. We are basically just going to say if current status does not equal previous status, then we will do something. We will say switch. Well, probably what I could do is just say previous status is equal to current status, and then we will say no, that's not actually a good option, is it? Let me think. I don't really want to try to keep track of that in two separate ways. So probably what we could do there is excuse me. I can't assign this yet. I need to just keep it. It just sucks because that's gonna loop through that multiple times. But switch current status case light dark status start in light break case light dark status start in dark break and then case light dark status dot in sorry transitioning. So we're going to want to do different things depending on what our current status is. So if we are in the dark, then we're going to want to transition. Well, nope, that also is. Oh man. So we don't want to. I don't know. I think in dark and transitioning will no, they won't be the same. I lied. Let me think. So if we transition from transitioning to in dark, then we can probably instantly kill the player if they're not in the light. Well, they wouldn't be in the light because the lamp would say that they're not, or they wouldn't be in a lit area, which would be their lamp or another object that glows. So if we're transitioning from transitioning to dark, we can just kill the player. If we're transitioning from in the light to the dark, then we want to do a coroutine, basically count down. If we're transitioning from the dark to the light, then we want to do another countdown. Well, not a countdown. It's just we basically want to get rid of all of our darkness UI. And if we are transitioning from in the light to transitioning, then we want to do a coroutine. Oh, no, it's not a coroutine. We just want to show all that, but we don't want to actually kill the player. Okay, I think I got this now. So let's go ahead. Get rid of this. And I am going to go to light dark trigger zone because this is doing kind of some of the stuff that we want. So we are going to want to do a couple of things. One, I need to actually cache the hero. Well, do I? Yeah, I do. Okay. So that means up here, I guess we're going to do this here. We're going to say private player hero. It's going to be nothing to begin with. And then current status, warning color value. We're going to come down here. We're just going to say private player hero. Oops. Get return. And we're just going to say hero question mark. If that's the case, then we're just going to return the hero. Otherwise, we're going to say hero is equal to global dot. Right, I keep forgetting that's not called global anymore. Game manager tq game manager dot hero reference. Okay, simple as that. All right, and then. So if we're in the dark, our current status is in the dark, and it did not match our previous state, we're going to say if previous state, or I'm sorry, status was equal to in the light, then we're going to do something else. Do something else. We will also want to go ahead and do some coroutine stuff down here. So right about here. Private, not void, IEnumerator. And this is going to be, let's see, which one are we currently coding? In dark. Okay, so this will be, dang, it's going to be called like transition to dark transition. Or how about this? Transition to dark coroutine. Okay. Oh, except actually that's not a thing. We don't need a coroutine for that. We only need a coroutine if we're going from the light. So we're going to say light to dark coroutine. Light to dark coroutine. What is our value up here? Fade duration, warning colors, warning text. Let's go ahead and comment some of this. So header. I'm going to call that just the HUD. Here we're going to say header post processing, which I think actually no, processing. Okay. So next we're going to want to have a header, and I guess we're going to call this just like transitions. Let's go ahead and serialize field, which should go after or above private. Float. What do I want to call this? Light to dark duration is equal to. We'll make it. I'm going to be generous and say 5 seconds. Let's tooltip this, and we're just going to say amount of time it takes for the player to be eaten by a grue after leaving a lit area in the dark. Okay. Bit of a mouthful there, but I think we'll get that. Oh, and these are just going to call check status. Check status. Okay. So if we are in the dark and our previous state was in the light, then we want to start a coroutine called light to dark coroutine. So we're going to say start coroutine. Oh, right. Instance, not start. Instance. Start coroutine. Instance dot light to dark coroutine. Okay. Then we're going to come down here and we're going to say, let's see, float t is equal to 0f, while, actually, no, let's not make that 0f, we'll make it equal to, what did I call it? Light to dark duration, of course I did. Light to dark duration. We'll say while t is greater than 0f, t time. I don't really need a division there, so we're going to say yield return null. Okay. So from there, we need to actually do a couple of things. One is, while we're doing this, we're going to say while hero dot movement dot can control yield return null. So we're not quite done there. I'm going to say while that's not the case. But this is actually an interesting thing because I need a way of visually representing how the timer is going. Because if it's arbitrary, which it might end up being, it might not be consistent across all levels, then I need some visual indicator that you're actually close to death in terms of being in the dark. So what this while hero.movement.canControl stuff is basically if you have the pause menu open, then time will not progress. However, actually, I don't actually think it would. Because, yeah, okay, actually I don't need to worry about this. The only situation in which you would have time flowing normally and not, well, and be in a menu would be in the input view, and I actually don't care if you eat up your time there. Because what we're going to do there is, after this while loop is up, we're going to say if ui.get, oh, working real well, hold on. So if ui.get input view type of input view, making sure that it grabs the exact correct input view. So if it gets that and then dot is open, then we're essentially, actually, you know what? Before I even do that, let's just go ahead and copy this. We're just going to make that be our cached thing, similar to what we're doing here. So we're going to say private input view, cached input. Okay, we're going to come up to here. Private input view, cached input, get return, cached input, question mark, cached input, else cached input is equal to this. Haha! Minus the is open part. And we're going to make this be lowercase c because otherwise we're going to be stuck in an infinite loop. Okay, so that means we can come down here now, and instead of doing this clunky thing, we can simply say cached input dot is open. So if our input view is open, then we actually want to display a message, which we're going to specify up here. And this is going to be, let's just copy this, paste this, and it's going to be menu to show in the input view when in the dark and about to be eaten. So this is going to be, what do I call this? Like imminent death text. This is the message that will show up to let you know if you move at all now, you will die. Death text? Not really super great, but I don't know if I want to keep it as it is dark. You are likely to be eaten by a grue. I guess it's fine to just leave it as is there. Or, You feel the sharp fangs of grooves. You feel the sharp fangs of grooves nipping at your heels. I don't like having fangs and then grooves because that makes it fangs of grooves, which is two words ending with the same letter. That sounds awkward. Um, how would I want to say that? It's basically the message that's going to show up when you're about to die. Um, so how about do stuff like you feel the breath of the grooves on your neck. That's kind of um, eh. How about this? Instead of it is dark, you are likely to be eaten by a grue. It's just it is dark, you are about to be eaten by a grue. If you do not find some light, it is dark. You are about to be eaten by a grue if you do not find some light. I kind of just like the simplicity of you are about to be eaten by a grue, actually. Because that's just a nice, like, it's a slight twist on the classic, it is dark, you're likely to be eaten by a grue. Um, okay, I think I'm going to keep it like that. So we're going to come back down here. And where are you? Where are you? You're down here. Haha. We're just going to say cached input dot, shoot. What is it? Add input, I think is what I'm going to want to have. Okay. Hold on. Dot add. Do I want it to be add text? You know what? Here, we'll do add input, and then it's just going to be basically pretty much that. That's kind of what we want. So we're going to say how do I want to handle this? I think I'm going to cache these. It doesn't really matter. It's fine for me to just do it this way. So we're going to say wording color value plus death text plus what is it? Global variables dot color. I think it's like end color. Yeah. Okay. So it's going to do that, and here is where we will have the while loop. So we'll say while in dark, and actually nope, hold on. While current status is equal to light dark status dot in dark, and I guess we would just do the hero dot movement dot can control. So while you're in the dark and you cannot move, which means that the input menu is open, we are simply going to say yield return null. So we'll just wait for that. And then after that, we're going to say if current status is equal to status.inDark, then we are going to do something, which will be a separate function that we call, I'm guessing right about here. So let's go ahead and go private void. What do I want to call this? I guess we would just say kill player. That seems about right. So we're going to just say light dark trigger zone. Pretty much we want to just take all of this, I guess. So we're going to do that. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. Get rid of in dark is equal to false. And then okay, fair enough. Hide info text from our HUD view, hide darkness icon. Yep, that's all good. All right. So if our current status is transitioning, or it is in dark from transition. Oh no, if it's this. So we're gonna go ahead and copy this, paste this up here. You know what? I bet I could probably cache the HUD view because there's no reason for me to keep digging through the UI for it. I mean, the UI kind of caches it, but I might as well just cache the reference here, honestly. So private HUD view, HUD. Just do that, and pretty much the same thing here. HUD view. We're just gonna call this HUD. And then we'll say, oh, yeah, I guess I should probably just call that HUD, but I should not just call it HUD, I should instead have it be called cached HUD. There we go. And we don't actually need, yeah, we'll do that. I don't think I have multiple HUD views. I don't think, the only time I really need specific views by using this type of method is if I have views that are shared with the custom game, but I'm pretty sure that's not a thing, so I'll leave it there for now though. Okay, so if we're going into the transitioning stage, we will want to say if previous status dot is equal to in light, that's where we're going to want to show our info text. So we'll say show info text. Set info text. So there we are. Which I believe will take a string. Yes, and it is going. I'm just going to take it from our light dark trigger zone, honestly. Let's see. Show darkness icon. So there we go. We're just going to do that. And this is going to be show darkness icon. And this is going to be, let's see, warning. Right. Hold on. Instance dot warning color value plus instance dot warning text plus global variables dot end text color. Okay, so that's pretty good. And if we are otherwise transitioning to the dark, then we are actually going to want to do that as well. However, I do want to change this from UI.get to just be the cached. Oh, right, it's going to be instance.cached. Oh, and I just called it HUD. Yeah, so let's go ahead and do that. Do you, and you. And if we are transitioning directly from the light to that, then we are going to want to show that as well. And if we are transitioning from the dark, or from the transitioning state, I don't actually think we care about that, so I think I can just do that, honestly. Oh, wait, no. I lied, because if we're transitioning there, then we're just going to instantly kill the player. So we're going to say instance.killPlayer. Okay. I think that is about all we really need to worry about. So let's let that compile. And, well, actually, hold on. So if we're in the dark, then we'll call kill player there. Okay. So let's let that compile. We won't be able to do anything with it yet because we need to convert our trigger zones to actually work with it. But we're on the right path. Okay. Gotta stretch. It's been about an hour. I need to do some sort of like standing desk thing or something. Okay. All right. Now, let's go ahead and make sure I don't have any errors. Good, I don't. But I need to drag that over. Two, let's go to light dark trigger zone. And here is where things are going to be fun. So I don't need to worry about this or this. I only need to call. I don't actually need any of this. So we're just going to say, let's copy this. Set that. When we enter the zone, we are going to increment our transition status. So we're going to say light dark manager dot increment status type dot transitioning. Okay, that's all we really need from there. We don't need any of this. We don't need any of this. So we are going to simply say, when we exit the zone, we are going to increment our status for, let's see, this one is if we're in the dark. So we're going to say increment in light. No, that's actually not what we would want to do there. So actually, I don't want to do anything there, but I do want to call decrement status regardless of what happens. And then, do I do anything from? Yes, that should be fine. Okay, and then if we go into this, we are going to say, oh man, that sucks. Okay, so this actually needs to happen first. So right about there. Then we're going to be able to do this, and then we're going to say increment status in dark. And that should basically take care of it for us. Let's also do it to the light zone real quick. Okay, so we're not going to need you, and you are now going to be derived from light dark zone base. Okay, we don't need to worry about cache collider or any of that stuff. Okay, and let's see, darkness countdown. Okay, so we don't actually care about that. And now, let's pretty much just comment out these guys entirely. And then we are going to simply override, enter zone, override, exit zone. So on entering the zone, we are going to say that, except it's going to be increment status, and it's going to be in light. And exiting zone is going to be the opposite. It's going to be decrement. Okay. When we disable, this gets to be a little more tricky. I'm going to put a to-do here because I think we're going to have to come back to this. But I need to make sure that the player is in that zone. And then if they are, then I'm going to decrement. Otherwise, it could be weird. Check if player is in zone, then decrement. Okay. So I believe this will pretty much allow us to interact with these two trigger zones as we would expect. So I should be able to run into the cave, and I will be, I'll get all the post-processing effects and all that. And when I leave, everything will go back to normal. And if I were to, that's not going to work with the lantern yet, is it? Nope. No, it is not. Oh, wait, but actually we can very easily change that. So we're going to go to, let's see. I don't have it up. Okay. Turn. is lit, what we're going to do is simply say if is lit, not that, does not equal value. This is just a safety wrapper for the most part so that it doesn't do the same thing twice. We're going to do all that stuff. And then what we're going to do is say if value, yeah, that's what I want. Okay. Then we're going to do, you know what, I bet I can wrap this a little more cleanly. So let's go ahead and copy this. If this, do that, do you, we don't even need this else if there, we can just do an else. Let's get rid of you. Okay, if that, let's go ahead and just do that. Probably get away with just having it be like that. Okay, and then we're going to say light dark manager dot increment status. We're going to say light dark status dot in light. Okay, and otherwise we are going to want to say decrement status in light. This might get a little weird. I'm going to do this as well to do make it weird with level transitions. I'm a little worried that because it doesn't persist, that it, oh, you know what, why don't I just make it persist? I could totally make the like dark manager status stuff static instead of basic, and that would more or less let me do everything that I would need. So for now, I'm not going to worry about it. We're just going to test it in the canyon to make sure it works. All right. So in theory, everything should be hooked up in the new system now. So when I go into the light dark area, it should pretty much look the same as it did before. I'm going to take this and hold lamp. Okay, so we should still get warnings and all that stuff. Well, guess what? We didn't. So, which makes sense actually, because let's go ahead. I didn't initialize anything. So, right, because I'm doing a bunch of this stuff. So on start, I guess I'm probably going to want to do this. Let's go to start. We're just going to say if status dot count is equal to 0, then we're going to say status of int light dark status dot in light is equal to 0. Just go ahead and copy this a couple of times in dark and then transitioning. Okay, so that should make sure that everything is pretty much up to snuff. So now we can try that. That actually might prove that we want to have a reset function, honestly. Okay. Excuse me. Got a yawn. All right. Let's try this again. Okay, it is dark. You are likely to be eaten by a grue. Okay, we went out and then nothing happened, so there was a null reference. What was our null reference? Ooh, interesting. The hero, it tried to kill me. Why did it try to kill me? Okay. 153. That's what that is. Okay, so we need to go up one more. Light Dark Manager 133. So our current status was in the dark. That's interesting. I think I might have done this wrong. If we exit the zone, then we're decrementing our transitioning status, and if our distance from our hero's position to our dark side position is less than the distance from our hero's position to the light side position, it means that we went into the dark. So then we want to call this, which is, I mean, that makes sense, I guess, but it shouldn't have gotten that far. That's what's weird. Oh, holy crap, that also complicates things. Shoot. Okay, this system is not going to be as flexible as I was originally thinking. Or rather, the system can't handle everything that I was originally thinking that it would. Because... God, I don't want to do that. So here's the thing. If we... Let's say I enter a light-dark trigger zone. And for the sake of argument, we're going to use this one over here. So I walk in from the side to the right here, the side next to the light, and then I walk all the way through to the dark area. Okay, I'm now in the dark. I don't have any transition. I'm not in the light. It knows that I'm in the dark. Let's say I go back into here. I'm still going to be in the dark, but I'm also going to be transitioning. And then if I left again towards the dark side, I would be in the dark twice. Because it doesn't know to decrement one. I suppose I could make it so that when you enter it, it decrements the dark counter. But that doesn't really make sense, because if you haven't entered one, then it doesn't really work. So perhaps when I enter a transition, I should set our dark count to be 0. That might be preferable. I feel like I'm overcomplicating this somewhat, admittedly. So as soon as we enter the zone, we want to increment status, transitioning, and we also want to say, I don't have a way of doing that, do I? Gross. So let's do this. Public static void reset status, like dark status type, and we're just going to say status dot, oh, stop that, instance dot status dot, sorry, of type is equal to 0, and then cast that to an int. Okay, so we're going to come down here, and we will say light dark status dot manager, not status, manager dot reset status dark. That kind of makes sense, because if you're transitioning, then it doesn't really make sense for you to be in the dark. But honestly, if that's the case, then why don't I just make it a state thing? There's no reason for me to have a semaphore. Because either you are in the you're either in the light, transitioning, or you're in the dark. You can't really be anything other than those 3 states. You can't be multiple ones at once. But you kind of can, but you can't. Let's try this again. See if this works out a little bit better. Because the problem... Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. The problem that I'm running into here is that there's just... The system is not going to actually handle things in a graceful way like I was hoping. That's fine for now. So we're going in. Okay, so it again tried to kill me. So let's test this. That means that my status is totally wrong. Like it's giving me darkness back. It thinks that I belong in the dark. That is really weird. So if we're in the light, if we're not in the light, we're going to check if our transitioning amount is less than 0, and if that's the case, Oh no, this is why, because yeah, okay. So I want this to be less than 0, not less than or equal to 0. Because if our light is 0, then it means that we're not. Nope, that doesn't work, does it? Okay. Because if our light is 0, then that just means that you're. Let's go ahead and do this. So when we enter a trigger zone, we are going to set light dark manager dot. No, no, no! I can't do that. Jesus. Okay. I can't just assume that I need to decrement one when I enter it, because what if I have a lamp and I go into there? I can't decrement it then. That doesn't make sense. Yeah. So, shoot. Okay, so this is a little more complicated than I was hoping. I do think we can get rid of this code, though. I think we're on the right track. It's just that I'm not quite wrapping my head around the way that it should be done properly. So when we enter a light-dark trigger zone, let me think. Okay, I think I have an idea. So we're going to go back to light dark status real quick. Go to definition here. So I do need a fourth value. In light means that I am actively in an area that has light, which means that I am holding a lamp, or I am near a torch, or anything like that. In dark means that I am in an area that is actively dark. It does not have any sort of light equipped. The player doesn't have any sort of light equipped. There's no lantern or lamp or light around them whatsoever. They're just in the dark. Transitioning is the period between those two. Think cave entrances, where you're going from a lit area to a non-lit area. However, that's actually a little deceptive, because transitioning is not transitioning from a lit area to a dark area. It is transitioning from a neutral area to a dark area, or from a dark area to a neutral area. Because, and the reason that we have to do that, I want to make sure that if you are in the light, if you are in a lit area for any reason, that will stomp on everything else. Because it's stupid for me to allow you to be in the light and in the dark at the same time. That just gets confusing. It's much better to know, like, okay, I'm next to a torch, I'm in the light, I can do whatever I want. Doesn't matter, because I'm going to be safe. Versus, okay, I'm in between the outside world where it's nice and sunny and this dark cave. It's giving me a little bit of warning. Okay, if I keep going, then I'll be in danger. If I just back off, I'll be fine. Okay. Versus if I'm in the dark, hey, I'm in the dark, I have to have a light, otherwise I'm going to die. So I am going to change this. I'm going to keep in light, in dark, and transitioning. But now we're going to add a fourth status effect, which we are going to call neutral, I guess. Well, thank you, my Dixie. Thank you for the follow. Also, welcome to the stream. Also, hello. How are you doing today? Okay. Oop. Wrong thing. Here we are. Okay, so I'm going to make this neutral. Or maybe passively lit. How about... Okay, neutral is equal to 3. That makes sense to me. Okay, and we're going to say the player is not in an active light or dark area. Okay, so we're going to change this up a little bit. Light Dark Manager is no longer going to have this really convoluted status check. No, I can't actually do that. Yeah, that just complicates things so much. I guess that just means that we have a hierarchy for the most part. So transitioning is more important than neutral, in dark is more important than transitioning, and in light is more important than in dark. So basically top to bottom here. I think that will give us the results we expect. It's certainly a much more simplified system, which I think will be fine because there's only a few areas where this is really an issue, honestly. So I think this system will be fine. So we're going to change this from a semaphore that's way too complicated, honestly, to just previous status and current status. So if we are... Actually, you know what? That's perfectly acceptable. I feel... Oh, no. Nope, 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 nope. It is not. Okay. Let's run a quick test scenario through everything. So we're going to let that compile. So let's say, once I can actually move around, which will never happen. Why can't I click? Weird. Okay. So let's go ahead and select our triggers here so that you can all see what I'm talking about. I'm going to take a drink real quick. Because Unity is frozen while it's compiling. There we are. All right, so if I select my cave light zone, I'm going to turn this on just so that we can see it. And then we don't need you. We want our waterfall entrance, and we'll get our cave entrance in there for good measure. All right, so this is a weird situation in which we have a light-dark transition area, which is our left trigger here, this little rectangle over here, is overlapping with a light zone, which is this more stocky box here. And here's the thing. If you're in the light zone, then you should be safe. Now, what happens, and this is where it gets weird, what happens when you leave this light zone? Okay. I'm also going to go ahead and move this down so we can get a better picture of this. So again, the light zone is here. It's this stockier one. If you leave it and you go down towards the entrance to the cave, you will be in the dark. Completely in the dark. No transition, no light, nothing. Just in the dark. But if you go towards the waterfall, then you're going to be in a transition area. And here's the even weirder part. The transition area is actually kind of inside the area of the light area. It's not just off to one side of it, it's actually enveloped by it, kind of. So what happens when you go in there? Well, it's going to try to transition you to the transition state, except it can't because there is a light state that's superseding that. Okay, then what happens if you go outside of the light-dark trigger zone? Well, you'd technically be going back into the dark side, but you're in the light, which means that it's going to try to set your status to be... Okay, I think I'm actually getting it right now. Okay. I think I got this. Essentially, what we're going to try to do is we'll have a previous state and a current state, and we'll also have a desired state. A desired state is the state that the darkness wants to get to, but it can't because there's either a higher priority state, or pretty much that's it. That's stomping on it. So we're going to do this: private static light dark status desired status is equal to light dark status dot. We're going to make that neutral. We'll also make this neutral by default because it should be. Okay, then current status is pretty much just going to be a public wrapper for this. So we're going to make this current status. We're just going to come down here, get rid of this, you, and just return that. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to say, instead of increment status and decrement and reset status and all that, which I will now actually get rid of status because I don't need that, we're going to say public static void set status. We're going to take a light dark status, status. And we're going to say if current status is not equal to status, because there's no point in doing this if it's the same already, then we're going to say if, I guess we could just do an int check, basically say if status is less than current status. I actually didn't think that would work, but it makes sense. Enums are basically just fancy ints. So that's hilarious that I can just straight up do that. Because we're doing priorities, and because we've ordered them that way, we can simply say if it's a lower number, then it takes priority. So if that's the case, then we're going to reset our current status. Otherwise, we are going to say desired status is equal to status. We're not going to do anything besides that. Otherwise, we're going to say current status is equal to status, followed by check status. And we will say previous status is equal to current status. Yeah, that's what we want. Okay, so that's pretty good. And then what we're going to do is, let's see here. Oh boy, yeah, that gets all kinds of awkward. Let me think. Okay. So once that happens, we can get rid of these things because they're no longer relevant. Let's come back down here. We don't need to worry about you anymore, which is also convenient. And then we can go to here. So instead of increment and decrement and all that, let's just get rid of these. When we exit the zone, it is going to depend on... So we're not going to want to do this, but... Hello, El Terminator. I'm afraid I don't remember you. I feel terrible about that. Yes, I am the guy with the 3D text game, a first-person text-based adventure. How's it going? It's slowly going. We've been making a gradual progress over the past year or so. Okay. Well, thank you for joining the conversation. I always like it when people chat. It gives me something to talk about other than, you know, exactly what I'm already doing on screen. Well, either way, welcome back. How are you tonight? Okay, so when we enter a light-dark trigger zone, we're going to want to say light-dark manager.set status, and we will give it a light-dark status of transitioning. Okay, and then when we exit the zone, we are going to say, okay, we're no longer transitioning, we are now in the dark, or we are going to be neutral. That should be the case. It shouldn't be in the light, it should be neutral if you're leaving towards the light area. Just here to cheer people up again? Well, I very much appreciate it. Let's see. So we're doing kind of an esoteric thing, so it definitely is nice having people just stop by for the sake of saying hi. So let's go to our light zone now, and we're going to change this from increment status to set status in light. Okay. Let's get rid of you. And exit zone, we are going to say... Now here is where it gets interesting. Okay, so when I exit, actually, what I want is I don't want to set it to a specific thing. Instead, I want to allow it to be its desired state. So let's go to Light Dark Manager. And under set status, we're going to say public static void set, well, not set, how about refresh desired? No. Set status to desired. Okay. So that's not going to take anything. And then we're going to just straight up call set status desired status. Yeah, it was basically that. But this one just got my eye. And I gotta go. See you next time when I have more time. Well, thanks for stopping by, Terminator. Hope to see you again. Take it easy. Alright, so we're going to set status to desired, which means that when we leave our light zone, instead of setting it to something specific, we're just going to say light dark manager dot set status to desired. Okay. And should that be the case? Or should I have set status to previous? Public static void set status to previous. Set status previous status. I need a force, don't I? Yeah, because all this is going to do is it's going to say, oh, our new status is not better than our current status. So, actually, I guess I could just do this, couldn't I? Because I could just say like current status is equal to that. But then that doesn't really keep track of previous status very well. What to do about you? I really don't want to keep track of your entire history of like light and dark movements. That would be a bit much. Because we could just set current status to desired status and then call check status. And that might be fine. I think that would actually be fine. So we would just do this basically. Okay. I think that's good. And then let's see here. If we go back to like dark trigger zone, I think what we're going to do is instead of set status, no, the light dark trigger zones are a little different because they're meant to be wrapped, so I think it's safe to do it like that. The light zone, however, should be set status to previous. No. That should not be the case. It should be set status to desired. That makes sense. No, it doesn't, because that's not going to do anything. Wait, no, it might work. That might actually be okay. Shit, no. Let me think. No, I don't think it's going to work. I think, well, I'll just let it compile and I'll show you what I'm concerned about. Essentially, I'm worried about, so when we come into the light zone, we're going to say, okay, our status should now be in light. Cool. But we came in from the entrance of the cave, which means that we were in the dark. Now, when we come in to the light, we're going to set our status to be in light, which means that our previous status would be in the dark. But our desired status would still be neutral, conceivably. Which means that we would... No. All right, I got an idea. Also, it looks like I have compiler errors, so that's great. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I forgot about that. But also, I think I actually know what I want here. So what we're going to do is set status to desired. Will do this. If current status does not equal desired status, then we're going to do that. Else, we're going to set current status. We'll just call it current status is equal to previous status. I think that will do what we want. So let's go back to our light zone. Set status to desired. That should work because then we'll be in the dark. Our desired status will... Oh, right. That's the other thing I need to change. So when we set our current status here, if it's higher priority, then we're going to set our desired status to be that status as well. Is equal to status. Okay. So that should prevent us from having that issue. Let's go back here to our lantern. And all we're going to do here is say set status, and this is going to be in light, and then set status neutral. Okay. Shoot, that almost works. The lantern is the last part that's going to throw us off. Because if we try to set it from being in the light to being neutral, it's just going to say, nah, you're in the light. It's okay. Which actually means that we don't want to do that. Instead, we would want to do, so to set status, we're just going to say set status to desired. That should be all it needs. Okay, let's test that. I hate it when we do weird, not really logic puzzles, but basically me trying to think through every possible scenario for how light would interact with everything. Ah! And because I think this is going to work, it's probably going to fail spectacularly. I'm going to say there's probably about a 30% chance that my monitors explode and blind me, as some sort of dramatic irony. Let's go ahead and turn you back off. Let's hit save. Because I had the hubris to think, yes, this will work. Okay. So let's go ahead. We're going to say take, hold lamp. Well, let's see if I die. Oh, good. Nothing happens, which means that it's totally not working. And it tried to kill me again, which means that it's totally not working. Okay. So bad things are happening. Let's go ahead. I'm just going to straight up just say, is this right? If the dark position is less than the distance from the light position, then yes, we want to kill you. So let's just do this. Debug.log. Light dark manager dot current status. Okay. We're just going to debug that twice. Because I want to know what it thinks my status is and what it thinks it is after I leave the trigger. Because something is going horribly, horribly wrong. Let's see here. Where, oh, where would I be going wrong? Clear this. Let's hit play again. No need to pick up the lantern. Okay, we got a null reference, but we should at least have the stats. It thinks I'm transitioning. Then why are you trying to kill me? Okay. Interesting, interesting, interesting. So at least here it thinks that I'm transitioning, but hold on. Did I do something stupid? I mean, the answer to that is always yes, but also, really, that's not exactly ideal. I don't really know why I gave you an offset. You should be 0. Okay. Okay, so it's interesting because it's also not showing me anything, which means that zone set status. Let's go to definition. It's going to say okay. Then we are going to set our status. Let's check status. Or actually, you know what? Perhaps I should go ahead and do this. Debug.log. Setting status to plus status. Okay. And then, once that's done, we're going to check status. So down here, I don't understand how current status could be different, so let's debug.log, checking status, make sure that it's getting there. And then we'll go ahead and say plus current status. Just go ahead and say see there. And then we'll say debug.log. Previous status is equal to current status. Oh, that's. I don't think I need that anymore, actually. Let's go ahead and leave that. And then we are going to say transitioning. Let's go ahead and say case neutral because they're going to pretty much do the same thing. Let's just do string format 0-1 followed by oops, actually that's not quite what I want. Followed by current status, followed by previous status. Okay. So with all that extra debug info in there, I think we'll be able to, at the very least, get something useful. At least I hope so, because I'm not entirely sure why it's bugging out. Which, whenever I'm not sure, means that it's something very small and easy for me to overlook. And then as soon as I find it, I'm going to bang my head against the table, probably. So, let's go ahead and clear that out. Let's hit play. The only thing I could think is that for some reason it was miscalculating distance, but that'd be weird. Okay, so I'm just going to run over here. Okay, so it's transitioning to transitioning from neutral. Okay. Then why aren't you oh, that's why. Hold on. Yeah, that's kind of important. Probably I should do that for the in dark too, although that's less likely to be a thing that ever happens. I'll do that anyway. Okay, I think we're good. So, how do I ever set it to be neutral again? We'll cross that bridge in a second. Let's let that compile, and that should hopefully be a little bit more accurate. So now, that won't fix, I think, the, well, maybe it will. No, I don't think it will. It won't fix the problem with our, with it trying to kill me for some reason, but it will at least let us see our warning text. So let's try that. At least it should anyway. Okay. So come over here. Cool. There is our, it's dark, you're likely leading by Gru. There's our null reference, which crops up because reasons. But let's find out what those reasons are. On trigger exit, exit zone. Interesting. Is it the hero again? Oh. Well, that would be it, wouldn't it? Because I was stupid. So, of course. Um, yeah, that would be me. Okay, so I need to do this. Private player hero get return hero, not herp, hero, question mark. If so, we're going to return hero. Otherwise, hero is equal to game manager. That's not going to be it. It's going to be TQ game manager dot hero reference. Okay, looking good. That should almost fix things. I do, of course, actually need to change these over. And actually, you know what? I can straight up. Hold on. Just move this into the root. I don't even need this hero light source check because we don't care about that anymore. Should just automatically handle it. All right. And any day now. I really need to clean up these warnings. A few of them are from my stuff, but it's annoying because a lot of it has to deal with procedural materials. I'm just like, yes, I get it. I know that procedural materials are an obsolete thing in 2017 because you don't want them as part of the engine, but okay, let's clear this out. Hit play. Let's see the magic happen. Okay, so we're in the dark. Interesting, nothing happened. Because transitioning. Right. So what happened there is when we exited, we tried to reset to neutral, which is a greater number than transitioning, which means that that's not actually going to work. Perhaps previous would be better. Instead of set status, we would call light dark manager dot set status to previous. I think that might be better. Because our previous status would be neutral there. It would be neutral. No, this might not work. No, that definitely will not work. Okay. Yeah. Gross. Okay. Let's real quick. Go to definition here. And then I'm going to come up to here, and I'm just going to say public static void set status status light dark status also light dark status but instead of set status, I'm going to call this force status. Okay, and all we're going to do is we're just going to say if current status does not equal status, and current status does not equal exception, then we're going to pretty much do this. Okay. I think that will work, and good God, I'm starting to read status as status. Okay. Too many functions with the word status in them. Freaking semantic satiation. Ah. Okay. So now that means that back here in light dark trigger zone, instead of saying set status to previous, we are going to call force status with light dark status dot neutral. And the only thing that we don't want to override is light dark status dot in light. It's the only time we don't want to override that. So that should be a little bit more flexible. So now what should happen is when we transition back out into the open, it's going to say, okay, I want to force this to be neutral unless I'm in the light, in which case I don't. But I'm not going to be in the light unless I'm carrying a lantern, but we're not going to worry about that for now. So I'm just going to let it go back to what it was. It should be fine. So let's see what happens. Okay, let's clear that, hit play. I'm reasonably confident that this will work. Of course, I've said that before, so, you know. All right, let's go ahead and take this, just in case. Okay, so we're going to go into here. Okay, I'm in the dark, and now if I transition back, hooray! I'm neutral again. And now I'm in the dark, hooray! And then I'm neutral again. All right, now if I go all the way to the darkness, I don't die. Why don't I die? Why did I not die? I should have died there, but I didn't. Why didn't I die? It's because you don't know what the hero is? It's because you don't know what the hero is. Okay. That is fair, and that is because I did something stupid. So let's go ahead and stop playing. I'm going to have to fix this. All right, so this needs to be just capital H, not lowercase h. And let's see. Am I using the hero anywhere else? Let's see, find all references. Hero, here we are. Do that. Okay. So that should fix that little oversight, and then it should kill me when I actually go into the dark now. At least I hope it does. Because I've been trying to kill myself in the dark all night, and I just can't do it. Okay. That finish compiling, and then we should be able to resume the shadow murder. All right. So we're on the right track. We can now transition to and from being in the transition state. But the real question is now, will we die? I don't know why I did that because I'm about to die anyway. Okay, and cool. We got eaten by Gru. That's good. That's what we wanted there. So now we're going to want to do a more robust test, which is going to be turning on the lantern, going into the dark, and making sure that we live. So let's take this. I'm also actually curious. Are we getting our... We're not. Okay. Yeah, our transition effect is not actually happening, so we're not getting a vignette effect, which is very annoying. But also, light... lamp. Oh, right. Hold and light lamp. Unnecessarily dramatic music. Yes, we are not getting our post-processing effect transitions, which is a little annoying, but we'll mess with that in a second. Okay, now if I die, good. I'm in the light. I'm always in the light. And now, if I were to put out my lamp, ooh, yeah, that's problematic, isn't it? Okay, so maybe let's not kill ourselves, although this is interesting. I wonder why we got an argument out of range exception. That's curious. In any case, actually what I want to do here is we're going to say, oh crap, okay. I have to make that a coroutine. Blah. Okay. Private enumerator kill player coroutine. And while hero.movement.canControl, we're just going to yield return null. So while we can't do that, and then once we can, we're just going to call kill player again. Okay. And all we're going to do is say up here, if that, else this. Start coroutine, kill player coroutine. Okay. So let's try that again. actually, I borked that up, didn't I? Because I need to say this. Cached input dot add text. And it's pretty much going to be the same thing that I did before. Actually, should I make it? No, let's not make it an add input. Let's make it add text, which I'm sure will be fine for me to just do this sort of thing. Oh, that's actually even better because now I can just straight up do a color thing, I think. So I don't even need to do this. I think I can just straight up say warning color. Oh, and null, I guess. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy this. Paste that. Okay, that should work. So, oh, also I need to say if current status does not equal, how about this, is equal to like dark status dot in dark, then we will kill the player. Otherwise we will not. And this is all just done so that you don't just, you're not in your input view and then you put out your lamp and then suddenly it's just like, you're dead. It needs to give you warning to let you know that you're about to die. Which probably means that actually that our warning text there is going to have to change from, well, our death text is going to have to change from just one thing to probably an array that it can pull from for variety's sake. Maybe. It might be more important just to have a clear message. So let's try this again. Stretch. Okay. So take, hold, and light lamp. Okay. Okay. That's interesting. Why was there a... Interesting. Huh. Why was there a delay? That's what's curious, honestly. Pink. We're also not passing in our text as we would expect. So that's fair, I guess. Hold on. Let's see. Oh, right. That's why we're doing that. Okay. Hold on. Right. Right. All right. Yeah, that won't really make much sense now, will it? Okay. Well, either way, we're going to say switch current status. Back down here. And we're going to say has light source. Let's see if we can make this work. Yep. Instance dot in dark is equal to true. Instance dot in dark is equal to false. Okay, that should work there. that should solve our post-process effect problem. But that's not really going to solve our other one. So when we set our status to be in the dark, what it's really doing is setting status to be desired, which is doing this, okay. And then we're going to say check status, which should be different, okay. And then it would say our current status is in the dark. It was almost correct. I think what it's trying to do, oh right, it's calling kill player, which sees that we can't control. So then it calls kill player coroutine, which then should actually call add text, but it doesn't. Interesting. Which then should call you. So I'm curious why you're not tinting properly. Let's see, text color is not default. Do you not pass in text color? You totally do. Let's go to peak definition here. Okay, so we're gonna say text color. Oh, is that straight up not used for there? Ah, okay, well fine. Then we're just gonna do this the old-fashioned way. Warning text plus that plus global variables dot end. Do all that fun stuff. Just go ahead and copy this. Get rid of everything else here for now. Okay. Pretty much the same thing. Paste that in there. All right. So that should be a little bit more accurate. Let's let that compile real quick. It's interesting. I don't know what would give us a delay like that. We shouldn't have a countdown coroutine. That's kind of what it seems like. It's hard to say. Well, let's see. Do a quick save, and there we go. Okay. Take, hold. Actually, you know what? Let's transition first. Okay, nice. We got our vignette back. Hold and light lamp. I didn't finish coding that, did I? I did not. I did not, I don't think. Oh, because yeah. Yep, because I did that stupidly. Yep, okay. Well, that's fine for now. Okay, so now we're going to say put out lamp. Ho-ho! That's not good. I guess we want to yield for one frame. That's so hideous. Okay, so let's go ahead and stop playing real quick. We are going to have to... Give me a second here. Right. We're going to do cached input. Actually, you know what? Hold on. Let's do this. Followed by new section settings, which will basically allow me to do false, false, 1, and 0f. That should do everything that I want. I want to just have a space before everything, so we're going to go ahead and copy that. Come back up to here. We're going to paste you here. And we are also going to just go ahead and say yield return null. Give it 1 frame to update. That way everything is correct. So let's see this. here. Let's take this. Right, I forgot to fix the... Okay, so that's right. And then it goes away. Okay, so hold. Huddle. Hold and light lamp. Okay, so we're going to go away there. And then, if we say put out lamp. Nice. Light lamp. Cool, cool. And we don't die. Versus put out lamp. Uh-oh. Oh. Interesting. It must think. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Interesting. So, yeah, it totally thought I was something else. I kind of wonder. Well, before I forget. Give me a second here. If we are... Oh, geez, that really sucks. God. So right now it's kind of tough for me to go ahead and get rid of these because they're not really relevant. It's hard for me to know when I should set in dark to be true or false here. That kind of sucks. I don't think I want this to be current status. I think I want this to actually be desired status. And actually, pretty much the only way I would want that to be that is we're going to say case dot neutral. Otherwise, we're going to do default because that's all we really care about. Let's go ahead and come back down here. I think that will work. Maybe not. Probably not. Actually, it won't. But it'll work in 9/10ths of the or 9/10ths of the time. That's annoying though. Well, maybe it will work. No, it won't. Hold on. If current status is equal to light. And actually it's going to be this. If not this. And previous status to neutral. So if not that, then we will do the instance in dark is equal to true. Otherwise we don't care. Okay, so let's let that compile. And it compiled. And we were all happy. And Chris's head didn't explode. It's good to dream sometimes. Hold and light lamp. Okay. Put out lamp. Frack. That backfired. Okay. Hold. I'm sorry, not hold. Light lamp. Okay. That's correct. Just out of curiosity, let's run back out Yep, that's about right. About right. Put out lamp. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and quit here. Desired status. If it's neutral, in dark is going to be equal to false. Otherwise, our current status is going to be equal to in light. Excuse me. So if not that. That's so annoying. I might just comment this out for now until I can figure out a smarter way of doing this, honestly. Yeah, that's not ideal. But let's go ahead and say to do need hard set flag for if the player is surrounded by darkness. And that can honestly just be a binary one. The only reason that we have to have such a complicated status, basically, for tracking if you're in the dark, transitioning to dark, in the light, or neutral, is because different things happen in those states. But as far as being surrounded by darkness goes, we only need to know if you're in the light or in the dark. So you're in the light if you're not in the dark, and otherwise you're in the dark. And if you're in the dark, then we need to do some stuff specifically. We want to show that your reticle is pink, so that you know that you're in the dark. We need to make sure that we show that you are in the dark still with an indicator. So actually what we're currently doing, we don't actually want to do, because those things should be relegated to if you're in just in the dark or not in the dark, basically. And I'll show you what I mean. So take, hold, lamp. Okay. So currently, if I go in here, you'll see that I have a darkness indicator at the top left. My reticle in the center is pink, and I have it as dark. You're likely to be eaten by a grue. Now, if I were to light my lamp, all of that goes away. However, I don't actually want the reticle to change back because without the reticle being pink, you don't know if you're in the dark or not. And we kind of need that. And same thing for our darkness indicator up at the top left. We want to have both of those things. The message at the bottom can go away because you no longer are about to be eaten by a grue. You're in the light at that point. But it's still important to know that you are in the dark, even if you have a light. So let's go ahead and put out lamp. Light, lamp. Okay. Out of curiosity, put out lamp. Ooh. Really? That's not good. Okay, that makes sense. So that is because of the problematic thing I did where I said if you are setting a status, then your desired status should probably be that new status, but that is not necessarily the case. Jeez. Okay. I think we're kind of grinding or bashing our head against a brick wall here. I think I'm going to call it a night for the stream so that I can kind of further design out these parts because I clearly went into this half-cocked. I should have had a better design strategy for this. So I think we're going to call it a night there. I'm going to keep working on this, though. Hopefully I'll get something working by the end of the night. I'll post that on the Discord. I feel like maybe I overcomplicated this. So, all right. Well, that is a good place to stop for the night. Announcements. This Saturday, I should be doing my regular dev stream. It may be an hour or two late. I will let you all know because I have planned events for Saturday morning. Um, but I'm reasonably confident that I'll be back in time for our normal stream at 3 o'clock. So that's pretty much the only announcement I have. So as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.